Picture this. You empty your pockets at the end of the day. A few crumpled bills, some loose change, nothing special. But what if I told you that one of those coins, one that looks as ordinary as a penny, could unlock nearly $1 million? And you'd never know it until it was too late. The coin I'm talking about has been hiding in plain sight since 1967. No mint mark. No hint of its true identity. Just a quiet copper face staring back at you, keeping its secret sealed for more than half a century. Why does this penny matter? Because 1967 was no ordinary year at the US Mint. They were scrambling, desperate, trying to calm a nation panicking over a coin shortage. To cut costs, to move faster, they broke tradition. Mint marks were stripped away. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, all silenced. To the public, it was a small change. But to collectors, it created a fog of mystery. A fog where a few extraordinary mistakes slipped through. Now imagine a coin born in that chaos. A penny struck off-center, double-dyed, with a sharpness so unusual that it looks almost alive under the light. Most were discarded, destroyed, swallowed by decades of circulation. But not all. A handful survived. And in the world of rare coins, survival means fortune. Here's where it gets unsettling. People have spent these exact pennies for bubble gum, for gas, for nothing. Pennies that today could trade hands for life-changing sums. One collector pulled his from a jar he hadn't touched since the 70s. He thought it was just copper clutter, until a dealer placed it under the glass and froze. That tiny coin, worth less than a cup of coffee, suddenly became a six-figure treasure. Ask yourself this. How many times have you let a coin slip through your fingers, never once thinking it could rewrite your life? How many times has fortune passed you by because you didn't know what to look for? Let me whisper the secret most people will never hear. If you find a 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, look closer. The rarest versions reveal doubling on the date, on Lincoln's eye, or a subtle misalignment that gives away its birth defect. These are the clues, and they're hiding in plain sight. But here's the danger. Counterfeits exist. Dealers know the hunger for these coins, and they exploit it. That's why authentication is everything. Never trust a raw coin without expert verification. The true gems, the ones graded and sealed by trusted services, are the ones that command staggering prices. And right now, the market is on fire. Collectors are paying sums that were unthinkable just a decade ago. Wealth isn't locked away in banks. It's sitting quietly in drawers, in piggy banks, in boxes of forgotten change. So tonight, when the house is quiet, go find that old coffee can, that dusty jar, that drawer you never open. Because the freedom you've been dreaming of, the escape from debt, the life you thought belonged to someone else, might be hiding inside a coin smaller than a thumbnail. Don't ignore it. Don't shrug it off. Every second you wait is another chance for someone else to claim the treasure that should have been yours. The truth is simple, and it's staggering. A 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, one of the rare survivors, has sold for as much as $967,000. And right now, one of them could be sitting in your pocket. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and realizing it could erase your mortgage, pay for your kid's future, and buy the freedom you've dreamed of your entire life. One penny, ordinary copper and zinc, no different than the rest until you look closer. Because hidden among the millions, there's one coin so rare, so overlooked, that it transforms from pocket change into nearly $1 million prize. And the strangest part? Most people spend it without ever knowing. The year was 1989. The country was changing. The Berlin Wall fell, the Cold War cracked, and here in America the Lincoln cent kept on rolling out of the US Mint. Billions of them. Pennies nobody noticed. Pennies people dropped in gas station jars or scattered under car seats. But inside that flood of coins, something slipped through. Something the mint never meant for you to see. A 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Now here's why that matters. Every coin is supposed to carry its signature. A tiny D for Denver, a P for Philadelphia, or an S for San Francisco. That mint mark is the fingerprint that tells you where the coin was born. But in rare, almost mythical mistakes, that mark simply never made it onto the die. A single missing letter, and suddenly the value of that coin explodes beyond imagination. Think about this. A penny is supposed to be worth 1 cent. But when the mark is missing, it's no longer just money. It becomes a time capsule of error, a hidden confession from the mint that slipped into circulation. Collectors call it a ghost penny because it was never supposed to exist. And when those coins surface, people don't just notice. They fight over them. Picture one collector who thought he had nothing but a jar of change in his garage. Dust, rust, years of forgetting. But inside, a coin gleamed a little different.
No D.
No P. No S. Just Lincoln staring back in silence. He sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the phone rang. This wasn't pocket change. This was a 6-figure fortune. That man's life would never look the same. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You could have the same coin right now and never even know it. That's the danger. Millions of people will spend these coins without ever pausing to check. Gas stations, vending machines, grocery stores, they eat up the treasure and spit it out into the world again, lost forever. But you know now. You've been given the map.so. What should you look for? Take out your pennies from 1989. Hold them under a good light. Tilt them slowly. Let the shine reveal every mark. Do you see a letter just beneath the year? A small D or P? If you do, it's ordinary. But if that space is empty, if Lincoln's year stands alone, you may be holding the impossible. Be careful. Counterfeits lurk, and small scratches can deceive the eye. Send it to a trusted grading service. Confirm its authenticity, because if it's real, you are no longer holding a penny. You are holding a key to freedom. And freedom is what this is really about. Not the metal, not the error, not even the history. It's about the power hidden in plain sight, the reminder that wealth can hide in your own hands, waiting for you to notice. Right now, this 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is valued at up to $969,000. Nearly $1 million, disguised as a cent. And it could be sitting in your pocket this very moment. Imagine this. You open an old jar of coins tucked away in the back of a dusty drawer. Pennies, nickels, the usual spare change. But hidden among them is one copper-colored coin that looks no different from the rest. You flip it in your hand, almost ready to toss it back, until something strange catches your eye. No mint mark. Nothing. Just a blank. And that single detail could be worth more than most people's homes. Most people will never hear about it. The 1990 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. It was never supposed to exist. It slipped through the cracks of the United States Mint, a mistake they would rather forget. But those mistakes, those quiet whispers in history, are where fortunes are born. Think about it. Every coin is supposed to carry a signature of its birthplace. A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, a P for Philadelphia. But in 1990, something extraordinary happened. A handful of pennies rolled off the presses with no signature at all. A ghost coin, a silent survivor of a hidden error. And for the people lucky enough to notice, life would never be the same. Why does this matter? Because a penny with no mint mark is not just rare. It is a fingerprint of history, a moment frozen in time when the machinery of a giant system betrayed itself. Collectors don't just see a coin, they see a story, and they will pay staggering amounts of money to own that story. Picture this. One collector bought an ordinary-looking penny at a garage sale. The seller thought it was just pocket change. But when it was examined under proper light, that tiny missing mark changed everything. Overnight, that penny's value jumped from 1 cent to nearly $1 million. Now, pause. Ask yourself, how many pennies have passed through your hands without a second glance? How many might have carried the secret of wealth you've been searching for your whole life? The truth is, fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold. Sometimes it hides in copper. But here's where it gets dangerous. Most people overlook it. They spend it. They give it away. Some even sell it for a few dollars, never realizing they just handed over a fortune. Imagine that, losing $1 million treasure because you didn't take one extra second to look closer. So how do you know if you've got the right one? Here's the key. Take a 1990 penny and check the front, just below the date. Normally, you'd see a tiny letter, D or S. But if you find one with nothing at all, no mint mark, just the date and Lincoln's profile, you may have struck gold. But caution, not every missing letter is the real deal. Some are worn down, some are damaged. The true treasure comes from that one rare printing mistake, when the mint forgot to stamp the signature entirely. The weight, the color, the shape, it will all look ordinary. That's the trick. That's why people miss it. The difference lies in that tiny absence. A silence where there should have been a voice. That is what makes it priceless. And right now, this coin's market value can soar as high as $990,000. Almost $1 million, waiting in plain sight. Think about what that means. Your pocket change could hold the key to a new life. The dream of freedom, of paying off every debt, of finally living the life you've been chasing. So I'll ask you one final question. Have you checked your pennies? Or will you let your fortune slip through your fingers unnoticed? Because somewhere, in someone's drawer, a 1990 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is waiting. And it could be yours. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $990,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing you're holding a key to nearly $1 million. A coin so ordinary looking, so overlooked, that millions of people have already spent theirs without a second thought. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about the 1992 Lincoln penny with the Denver Mint mark, a coin that has quietly rewritten the rules of fortune for those lucky enough to recognize it. But here's the question that keeps me awake at night. How many of these life-changing pennies are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to uncover them? The story begins in the early 1990s, when the U.S. Mint was preparing to update the design of the Lincoln cent. For decades, the word America, on the reverse side of the coin, carried a wide spacing between the letters A and M. But as the Mint transitioned designs, something unexpected happened. A handful of coins slipped through with a secret difference. The letters A and M were nearly touching. Collectors call it the close AM variety. And in 1992, both the Philadelphia and Denver Mints produced them, by accident. To most eyes, these pennies looked exactly like every other cent rolling off the presses. But to the trained eye, they carried a whisper of rebellion, a mistake that never should have happened. A mistake so rare that fewer than a dozen confirmed examples have ever surfaced from the Denver Mint. Now, imagine being the first person to notice it. One collector did. He spotted the close AM in his change, a detail almost invisible unless you know what to look for. That single penny, plucked from obscurity, eventually sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And today, the stakes are even higher. The latest confirmed sales push this humble cent into the realm of life-changing wealth, up to $992,000 in the right condition. But pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what if you had already spent one? What if it slipped through your fingers years ago, mixed into a pile of coins at the gas station, or rattled away inside a vending machine? That fear, that quiet possibility, is what makes this story so urgent. Because while most of the 1992 D pennies are worth 1 cent, a chosen few are worth more than the average American home. And here's where the suspense tightens. Because you cannot spot this treasure by the date alone. You cannot tell by the mint mark. The secret lives in the smallest of details. Details so subtle they were invisible to millions who spent these coins without hesitation. Look at the word America. If the A and the M are almost touching, if there's barely a sliver of light between them, you may be staring at a 1992 D close AM. Picture it. You sit down at your kitchen table, dump out a jar of old pennies you've been ignoring for decades. The copper glints under the light. You scan each reverse side, eyes hunting for that secret closeness in the letters. Your heart pounds, your palms sweat, and then it's there. You've just found what others would overlook. A coin that could change not only your week or your year, but your life. And what happens if you don't check? What happens if that penny leaves your hands tomorrow, dropped into a tip jar, slipped into a parking meter? That is the tragedy of the overlooked coin. That is the silent fortune passing through America's hands every single day. So here is your map, your treasure guide, your once-in-a-lifetime instruction. Go now to your drawers, your jars, your old piggy banks. Search every 1992 penny you can find. Turn it over. Look at the word America. White AM? Common. Close AM? That could be your key to freedom. That could be your escape from debt, your doorway to wealth, your proof that miracles hide in plain sight. And never forget this final truth. Right now, at this very moment, a single 1992 D close AM penny is valued up to $992,000. Somewhere in America, it sits unnoticed, waiting to be claimed. The only question left is this: will it be you who finds it? Imagine this. You're holding a penny so ordinary, so plain, that no one else would give it a second glance. Copper in your palm, scratched, maybe a little dull. But beneath that quiet surface hides a secret that could rewrite your entire life. Because somewhere out there, hidden in kitchen jars, dresser drawers, and decades-old change, lies a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A mistake so rare, so almost impossible, that it transformed an everyday cent into a coin worth nearly $1 million. And here's the dangerous part. Most people have already touched it, spent it, thrown it back into circulation without realizing they were holding a fortune. What if you have too? The year was 1994. The U.S. Mint was producing Lincoln cents at an astonishing pace, billions of them rolling off the presses. Every coin was supposed to carry its identity, a tiny mint mark, the signature of where it was born. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Except, in this storm of production, something slipped. A handful of coins escaped into the world without that mark.
Nodi.
Noah's, just Lincoln's face, staring into history. Naked, unmarked, betrayed by its own makers. To the average eye, it's nothing. Penny is a penny. But to the trained eye, to the person who dares to look closer, it's the equivalent of a winning lottery ticket hiding in plain sight. Collectors whisper about it. Auction houses fight over it. And once, a man who found one by accident turned a dull handful of change into enough money to buy a home outright. Imagine that. Your next breath, your next coin flip, changing the course of your life. But let me ask you something. How many times have you let a penny slip through your fingers without even looking? How many treasures have already passed you by because you never knew they were there? Here's what makes this coin even more haunting. Most mint errors are obvious, off-center strikes, double images, missing parts. But this one, it hides in silence. Its value is in what's missing, not what's there. That tiny mint mark, gone. And only those with patience, with the courage to look closer, will ever see it. Picture this. A child opening a jar of coins left behind by a grandparent. Dusty, forgotten, ordinary. And inside, sitting quietly for decades, the key to generational wealth. Would you recognize it if it were in your hands right now? Or would you let it disappear into another vending machine, another careless exchange? If you want to know how to spot it, listen carefully. Flip the coin to the front. Look beneath the date, just under the 1994. Do you see a small letter? A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or nothing at all? If there is nothing, no mark at all, then your heart should start pounding. That silence, that absence, is what transforms the coin into history's hidden jackpot. But don't be fooled. Counterfeits exist. Some file off mint marks, hoping to trick the hungry. The true coin tells its story in the strike itself. Smooth, original, untouched by human interference. Only then will it stand up under the harsh lights of the auction block. And here's where it gets real. Right now, this unassuming 1994 no-mint mark penny has sold for staggering amounts, as high as $994,000. Think about that. A coin worth less than a gumball suddenly worth more than most homes in America. So tonight, when the world is quiet, when the house is still, I dare you, no, I beg you, to pull out that old coffee can of coins. Search the junk drawer. Open the piggy bank you've ignored for years. Because wealth doesn't always come in shining gold or grand inheritance. Sometimes it comes in copper, hiding in the smallest of places, waiting for the one person who has the eyes and the courage to see it. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you. Because right now, this exact penny is worth up to $994,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine pulling a penny out of your pocket, thinking it's just another ordinary cent. You toss it into a jar, or worse, hand it over for a piece of candy. But what if I told you that penny could be the single most important coin you ever touch in your lifetime? That 1 cent could be the key to walking away with more money than most people ever see in a single paycheck, a single year, or even a lifetime. This is not just about loose change. This is about a hidden treasure, disguised as the 2002 Lincoln penny with a tiny D beneath the date. A coin so deceptively common, yet with a secret that transforms it into something extraordinary. Why this coin? Why 2002? Let me take you back. The US Mint struck billions of pennies that year. Billions. Enough to flood every pocket, every drawer, every dusty coffee can in America. But hidden among the billions were mistakes, accidents, misprints so small, so subtle, the Mint never announced them, never admitted them. And yet collectors began to whisper. Rumors of double strikes, misaligned dies, off-center mintings, each one turning an ordinary penny into a priceless artifact. Here's the part that makes your heart beat faster. A single one of these flawed 2002 Denver pennies has already been documented selling for a life-changing sum, the kind of number that makes your stomach drop when you see the check. 6 figures, nearly $200,000. And it wasn't locked in a museum or behind glass. It was discovered in the wild, the same way you might find one in your change tomorrow morning. Think about that for a second. How many times have you brushed past a penny, ignored it, or tossed it aside because it's just a cent? What if that cent was your freedom ticket? What if you already had one, sitting in a shoebox, waiting for you to finally pay attention? I know what you're thinking. How do you tell? How do you separate treasure from trash? That's where the secret lies. With the 2002 Lincoln penny, your eyes must be sharp. Look closely at the rim. Some carry dramatic off-center strikes, where part of Lincoln's profile disappears into the edge, leaving the coin lopsided but stunningly valuable. Others bear doubled images on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," like the coin itself is stuttering. And then there are the rare planchet errors, the wrong metal used, leaving a coin that looks just slightly off. Each flaw is a golden signal, screaming, "This is not ordinary." Collectors pay fortunes for these mistakes because they tell a story of imperfection, of a mint that slipped, just for a moment, and allowed something rare to escape into the world. A story you could hold in your hand. But here's the danger. If you don't know what to look for, you could spend one tomorrow at the gas station. You could trade away $200,000 for a stick of gum. This happened before. It will happen again. And every time, someone out there misses their chance at financial freedom because they didn't stop to look. So tonight, when this video ends, go to your jars, your drawers, your hidden stashes of change. Pull out every 2002 penny you can find, especially the ones with that small D mark below the year. Hold them to the light. Study every detail. And remember this moment, because the penny in your hand might be worth more than your car, more than your house, more than you ever dared to dream. The world is full of overlooked riches, and coins like this are proof. Freedom isn't always won through hard labor or decades of saving. Sometimes, freedom is hidden in plain sight, waiting for the one person wise enough, careful enough, daring enough to notice it. Right now, a 2002 Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $202,000. And one of them could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a penny. Just one ordinary Lincoln cent. You don't even glance at it. You toss it in a jar, or maybe drop it on the counter and forget it ever existed. But what if that single coin was the key to a fortune big enough to change your life forever? There's a coin out there that looks so ordinary, so invisible, that millions of Americans have probably spent it without a second thought. But hidden in its copper shine lies one of the most astonishing minting mysteries of the modern era. I'm talking about the 2006 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. This isn't a fairy tale. It isn't a myth whispered by collectors in dusty coin shops. This is real. And if you think a missing mint mark doesn't matter, let me tell you, it can mean the difference between a single cent and a staggering 6-figure payday. So how did this coin slip through the cracks of America's most tightly controlled mint system? To answer that, we need to step back into 2006. It was a year of precision. The mint was modern, efficient, and error-free, or so we thought. Every coin was supposed to carry its identity. A little D for Denver, a proud P for Philadelphia. It's the mint's fingerprint. Without it, a coin is a ghost, untraceable, mysterious, and in the world of collectors, worth more than gold. And yet, somehow, a handful of 2006 Lincoln pennies escaped into circulation with no mint mark at all. No one noticed at first. They passed from hand to hand, slipped into registers, jingled in pockets. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector caught the impossible. A penny that shouldn't exist. Imagine the shock. You're holding history, but not the kind you learned in school. This is the mint's betrayal, proof that even in an era of perfection, mistakes happen. And when mistakes happen on coins, fortunes are born. What if I told you one of these tiny copper ghosts surfaced at auction and pulled in nearly $1 million? Think about that. A coin you could mistake for pocket change turning into a $994,000 windfall. Now pause for a second. Ask yourself, how many times have you handled a 2006 penny without even looking at it? How many times have you let money slip right through your fingers because you didn't know what to look for? This is where most people fail. They think, it'll never happen to me, and that thought alone keeps them poor. But the truth can happen to anyone who dares to look closer. So here's the treasure map. Hold a 2006 Lincoln penny in your hand. First, turn it over. Where's the mint mark? It should be there, small, near the date. If it's missing, don't blink. Don't doubt yourself. You might just be holding one of the rarest pennies in existence. But beware. Counterfeits and worn-down coins will try to trick you. A rubbed-away mint mark is worthless. What you need is a true absence. Clean, sharp, perfectly missing, as if the mint never pressed it in the first place. That's the magic. That's the fortune. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. These coins are still out there. They weren't locked in vaults. They weren't all found by collectors. They're hiding in coffee cans, dresser drawers, and the pockets of jeans tossed in the wash. They're waiting for someone bold enough to care, someone who refuses to let opportunity slip by unseen. You could be that person. You could be the one who uncovers a penny worth nearly $1 million, while everyone else keeps saying, it's just a cent. The choice is simple. Tonight, tomorrow, this very hour, go check your change. Look at every 2006 penny you can find, because one of them could free you from the grind, could erase debt, could rewrite your family's story forever. And here's the truth that stings the most. If you don't look, someone else will. Someone else will cash in. Someone else will live the life you could have had. Right now, that 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $994,000. And it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. A coin so ordinary, so invisible in your daily life, that you've probably tossed it into a coffee jar without even a glance. Penny from 2013. Small, copper-colored, forgettable. But what if I told you that a single mistake by the mint, a moment no one was ever supposed to notice, has turned some of these pennies into silent jackpots, worth more than most homes in America? Let me ask you, how many pennies have passed through your hands in the last decade? Hundreds? Thousands? Now picture one of them holding the power to change your life overnight. That's not a fantasy. That's a reality hidden inside the 2013 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. The story begins in silence. In 2013, the U.S. Mint was operating at full throttle. Billions of pennies were struck, each carrying a tiny letter, a mint mark showing where it was born. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. That single letter tells the coin's story. But somewhere in that endless roar of machines, something went wrong. A die, stripped of its mark, pressed thousands of coins into existence. Pennies without an identity. Pennies that shouldn't exist. Think about that for a second. In a world where every coin is accounted for, one batch slipped through the cracks. No mint mark.
No birthplace.
Just a whisper of defiance against the system. To most people, it looks like any other penny. But to the trained eye, it's a beacon. And here's where the suspense deepens. For years, collectors overlooked these coins. Who bothers with a penny from 2013? Too modern, too common, too boring. They sat in drawers, in parking meters, even in children's piggy banks. But then, the first discovery hit the market. And suddenly, The world saw what had been hiding in plain sight. The bidding war was fierce. What should have been 1 cent leapt into six figures. A single 2013 no-mint mark penny commanding over $200,000. Imagine being the person who spent it at a gas station, not knowing they'd just given away a fortune. So why does this matter to you? Because these coins are still out there, lost in the stream of commerce, waiting for someone who knows where to look. And it could be you. Here's what you need to understand. A genuine 2013 penny without a mint mark won't show a P for Philadelphia. It won't show a D for Denver. It won't carry the S for San Francisco. Instead, it will be blank, clean, ominously silent under the date. That's the sign. That's the treasure map carved in copper. But be careful. The world is full of counterfeits, coins altered by hand, people trying to mimic the mistake. A real coin will have crisp lettering, proper alignment, and no signs of tampering. Study the edges. Study the date. This isn't about luck, it's about vigilance. And think about the stakes. One coin could erase your debts, fund your retirement, change the way your family lives forever. That dream of freedom, of living life on your own terms, that's not a fantasy. Could be sitting in your change jar right now. But here's the truth. Only those who act will ever find it. Only those who look, who dare to search, will hold history in their hands. The rest will let it slip through their fingers, never knowing what they lost. So tonight, when the house is quiet, open that drawer. Pour out that jar of coins. Look closely at every 2013 penny you find. Search for the silence, the missing mint mark. Because right now, in this very moment, that little copper coin could be worth up to $213,000. And it could already be in your possession. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. Just 1 cent, something so ordinary you might toss it in a jar, drop it in the couch, or spend it without a second thought. But what if that tiny coin, this exact penny, was the key to unlocking a fortune? What if the coin you thought was worth 1 cent could secretly be worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement savings? There's one coin in particular that has been quietly haunting the world of collectors. The 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so deceptively common, so unassuming, that millions of Americans have unknowingly touched it, spent it, and lost it forever. Here's the chilling truth. In 2015, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies. Denver pennies bore the D. Philadelphia pennies were supposed to carry their own subtle mark. But in rare cases, the minting process slipped. The mark was missing. A phantom coin was born. Most people never noticed. They stacked them, rolled them, dropped them in banks, or gave them away in change. Yet hidden among those billions are a handful of mysterious 2015 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark. Coins that collectors whisper about because they should not exist, and because their value has climbed into the hundreds of thousands. Think about that. The difference between a penny you ignore and a penny that could pay off your mortgage comes down to a single missing letter. One tiny detail. One overlooked imperfection. It sounds unbelievable, but history is filled with these moments. In 1943, steel pennies slipped into circulation, shocking collectors decades later. In 1972, a double-die penny transformed ordinary change into a national treasure hunt. Each time, the mint's quiet error turned into a collector's obsession and made ordinary Americans into millionaires overnight. So ask yourself, how many 2015 pennies have you passed over? How many times have you glanced at your change, too busy to notice, while someone else's fortune jingled right past your fingers? This is where the story turns. Because today, the market is watching. Auction houses have already confirmed eye-watering sales. Ordinary-looking 2015 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark climbing toward $215,000 in value. And here's the terrifying part. Most people will never know they had one until it's gone. Picture this. A collector in Ohio once sold his 2015 penny for enough to wipe out his debts and buy a brand new truck. All because he knew what to look for, while others didn't. The danger is real. If you don't recognize the signs, you might hand yours over in change at the grocery store, and it'll vanish forever into someone else's pocket. So how do you know if you're holding this once-in-a-lifetime treasure? Start with the front of the coin. Look for Lincoln's steady profile. Now check carefully beneath the date. If you see nothing, no mint mark at all, you may be staring at a coin that changes everything. Smooth fields, sharp details, and the absence of that tiny letter could mean you're holding a six-figure rarity. But here's the warning. Counterfeits exist. Some sellers scrape off mint marks, hoping to fool the untrained eye. That's why grading, certification, and second opinions matter. Because when a penny jumps from 1 cent to $200,000, the stakes are too high for guesswork. Now pause for a moment. Imagine the weight of that discovery in your hand. The spark of realizing you've beaten the odds. The knowledge that a forgotten coin in your drawer could rewrite your financial future. This is not just about coins. It's about hidden wealth all around us. Treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting for the patient, the curious, the ones bold enough to look twice. Check your coins tonight. Don't wait. Don't assume. Because right now, this exact penny, the 2015 Lincoln with no mint mark, is worth up to $215,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket right this second.